Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Priyanka. I am currently VP of Clinical Product at a biotech startup based in Palo Alto, California. But I graduated from IPADS way back when in 2014. And then I went out to, I got my PhD at the Graduate School of Frontier Sciences from the University of Tokyo. And after that, I started working at the startup that I'm currently at. So today I wanted to talk about my journey as an IPAD, starting from an IPAD student all the way to where I am right now, in the hopes that, maybe some of you who are questioning what you want to do after grad school, I'd be happy to discuss that and provide any tips that I can. So let's first start. So when I was in grad school, when I was an IPAD student, I thought an academic career was the only career path. Maybe you guys are smarter than me. you may think you have other options, but at least I know that when I was a master's student, I didn't think I had any other option. And but obviously that's not true, because there are so many elements of a grad school education that are important for a career outside of academia and that are useful. And the core of that is the research skills that you learn, how to apply the scientific method, how to identify a problem, gather all of the relevant facts, design a controlled experiment where there's only one variable and everything else is the same, and then analyze the results from that. And that is applicable to so many different areas and jobs. And I do hope that you're considering other options as well. I'm not saying that academia is not great. I think it is. And if that's where you want to be, that's fantastic. It's just the reality that there's a lot of fewer academic positions than there are grad students. So we as grad students, it's better to consider other options as well. So for me, the first time I considered that there may be something outside of academia was when I was an IPAD student. I participated in the Tokuron class, and that was my first experience with more project-based learning. Up until that point, I went to school in America, and then I came here. It was all very much, there were small projects, but it was very much the teacher had something to teach and the students were learning that. And there was a test to test how much you absorb that information, nothing more than that. So the first time in IPADS, in the Tokuron class, which I'll talk about a little bit later, we had a theme and a project. We came together that was outside of each of us research themes. And we came together and created experiments, analyzed that, and wrote a report. That was my first kind of glimpse into what it's like to go beyond the lab, go beyond the very specific narrow project that I was working on. And through that experience, I learned that there are so many skills that I could apply, not only to my experiments, but outside. And there's government and industry jobs that require planning and careful execution and analysis so that you can do better next time. And so the answer to that is no. Grad school can prepare you for a career in government, industry, or even entrepreneurship. And each of that has its own unique skill set that's required, but you can certainly acquire all of that in grad school. So next I want to talk about my experience as an IPAD student. So for me, IPADs set the stage to seek problems beyond the lab, as I mentioned. And that was through the Tokuron experience. So Mizoguchi Sensei, he at that time it was 2013, and it was still the earthquake, the great earthquake in Japan was still fresh in everybody's mind. There was the nuclear contamination in the Fukushima area, and Iitate is a village, I'm sure many of you already know, in the Fukushima prefecture. And unfortunately, the whole village had to be evacuated. And what used to be a thriving agricultural village now was all empty. But there was a group of researchers, retired mostly, that came back and were using principles that they had used in their professional lives to improve the soil and decontaminate, and working to bring the village back to its liveliness that it was before. And through here, I learned that scientific principles can be applied to anything, and it can be applied to do not-for-profit work or as a volunteer. The question that we tackled was, can you do research as a volunteer? And the research that we observed the volunteers doing was fantastic. And these are just some of the images from that time. And you can also find the report at Mizuguchi Sensei's website. But the scientific method provides a framework for reason and logic that is almost always beneficial, whether it's business or a government project or even your personal relationships. That, for me, it was the first time I saw that, okay, I can really apply this to almost anything. And first time I realized that I don't have to do the specific theme that I was doing for the rest of my life. Not that I didn't like it, I did, but it was really refreshing. And it's this experience, actually, I keep coming back to it even now. I've been working at the startup for almost 4.5 years. And even then, even now, I remember the time where, well, how we all came together and analyzed the situation and applied all of our different backgrounds and strengths and came up with the report. So this is something, it was really foundational experience for me. And that's why I think right now, for me at least, at that time, I was like, why do I have to do this? You know, it's part of I have to get credits for it. I don't have any other choice, but that experience was extremely beneficial. And that's why I think for you all as well, I'm sure your experience in IPADS or your grad school will be, there will be instances where you will come back and remember that you're glad that you did it. And one great thing about IPADS is that it's a very diverse program. There's diversity in terms of culture and experience. So people from all different backgrounds are part of IPADS. And for me, I mean, I'm American, so especially Californian. So I was used to having people of all different backgrounds around me, but it was still different. When I was in Japan, I still met people from, for example, Southeast Asia, that I didn't have much exposure to. People back in California, they're immigrants, but they've been they've been living in America for a while. So it was a very fresh culture and experience and thoughts that I shared, which was, it was a really rich experience. And the language part is applicable mostly for, I think, Japanese students, because IPADS classes are in English. And although Japan is still, I feel, a little bit isolated from the rest of the world in terms of business, but English is unfortunately the language used globally, and knowledge of English, especially technical knowledge, at least business level communications, can really set you apart in your career path. So I highly recommend anybody who's considering joining IPADS to take IPADS classes, if not join the program itself. Okay, and next I want to talk about my experience in industry. So as I was graduating with my PhD, I had a couple of different ideas of what I wanted to do. I was thinking of doing a postdoc position in Japan, but I met somebody who introduced me to the CEO of the startup that I'm at. And that's why what I want to emphasize today is that the most important factor for career success is network. And I know everybody says that, and it's so annoying because, well, how are you supposed to build your network? But you never know who will be that person who's going to be your next colleague or co-founder or somebody who will really make a difference in your life. That's why it's really important to make that connection, reach out and build that relationship, and let other people know who you are what you're good at and what you want to do, because in my experience, at least, everybody wants to be helpful. If you let them know that you're looking for this kind of job in this kind of industry, people are more than willing to help make that kind of connection if they know that. But if they don't know that, then nobody can help you. So it can be a little bit scary, but it's important to take that first step. And to anybody who you meet, maybe in the bus or anywhere, you should at least, although I'm also introverted, it's hard for me to do as well, but it's so useful to make that connection and build your network. And on that note, I mean, I'm also open to, if anybody wants me to, if you're looking for a particular connection, I would be happy if I know somebody in the network to connect you to the right person. So feel free to reach out anytime. I'm on LinkedIn, or you can email me. Mizogu Sensei has my email address. You can talk to me afterwards. But I'd be happy to make any connections that I can. So for me, how I met the CEO and founder of the company that I'm at, as a part-time student, I was teaching kids English on Saturdays. And the person who was working and the person who founded that school was a big shot, like M&A kind of person. And he had a coworker for his company who was working for him. And then we went together a couple of times for another project for translation work. And then he introduced me as I was graduating to the founder, and that happened because I never said no. So, I mean, obviously doing something outside of the lab, that's taking time away from my free time, but I didn't say no. I wanted that opportunity. And at that point, from teaching English to kids to translating more business negotiations, I didn't say no, although I didn't know anything about business or negotiations or anything they were talking about. But of course, it's very scary because you're going in and you don't know what you're doing, but you have to pretend that you are. And before you know it, you actually do know what you're talking about. So it was really scary, but I didn't say no to that. And that's how I got to know the person who eventually introduced me to the founder. So yeah, I would strongly urge, like, don't say no. Do as much as you can. And now I want to talk about lessons from a startup. So after this, I want everybody to have an idea of what kind of startup, if you were to found a company, what kind of company you would found. But before that, some of the lessons that I've learned, I just want to share that. One is, the first thing is, obviously you have to make things that people want to buy. So a lot of the times, especially researchers, they don't really know what people are willing to pay for. So it's really important to talk to your customers or potential customers, or just talk to people in general and figure out what people really want to buy. When you're at that early stage, everybody says, oh, wow, that sounds so cool. That's such a cool idea. But when it's time to actually pay for something, it's really difficult to make that jump. So you should, of course, focus on making things, products or services that people want to pay money for. And that should be the core of your effort. And next is, perfectionism is your enemy. So as a scientist, I mean, I want my experiments to be immaculate, because it has to be, otherwise I don't know why things are going wrong. But perfectionism is your enemy in the startup world, because it doesn't have to be a perfect product. You have to make the minimum viable product, which is MVP, we call it MVP, and you bring it out to in front of the customers and you get feedback. And if there's anything that needs to be modified, you make those changes and go back and repeat that cycle. If you focus on making something perfect to begin with, nobody might want to buy it, and you wasted all of that time and money on something that nobody wanted to buy. So definitely don't aim to be perfect. Just aim to have something that's minimum viable and get it out in the market as early as possible. And another thing I've realized is that you should start your company as early as possible. So when I was a grad student, I had my consultancy firm that I'm still part of, and I've had other side businesses through my family. So I have a couple of companies that I started when I was a grad student, and I started now too. Of course, although right now majority of my work is focused on the the biotech venture that I'm a part of. But you should start, if you're thinking of starting your own company, you should do it now. Because when you're young and like a student, you don't have a lot of things to lose. But when you're older, like now I have a kid and you have a family, you have a mortgage to pay for, you have a lot of things to lose if things don't go as well as you planned. So, but when you're young, you don't have a lot to lose. So you should really, if you have something you have in mind, you should start as early as possible and fail and learn from those failures and then just do it again, because you're never going to get that time back. And that sense of bold decision-making phase of your life is not going to come back. And next, I sort of touched on it a little bit earlier, is that you should be willing to do anything. At least for me, I got to where I am because I didn't say no so often. Of course, it's important to say no when you really can't do something or it's conflicting with your priorities and your values. But in principle, be willing to do anything, even things that are out of your comfort zone and that you've never done before, because you will learn skills and meet people that you would have otherwise. So I think that it's a really important thing to not only at a startup, but in life overall. A startup particularly, because a startup is lacking in people. The team is young and there's not a lot of people. So there's a lot of different things you can do. So if you keep saying, no, I only want to do what I'm good at, you're not going to gain the experience that you might otherwise. So for example, I don't have an accounting or finance background, but I still didn't say no to participating in our financing. And that's how I learned how to make SG&A and COGS and all of those terms that I never would have otherwise. So you will learn as you go. So if you're willing to do anything. And next is be always selling. And that's true for not only your product or service, but yourself. So you should always develop what's your brand, who you are, what skill set you have. And that kind of ties into the networking where you're always selling yourself, telling people who you are, what you bring. And then that's how you grow in your career and for the company as well. Yeah, I'm just going to skip things. Okay. Next, I want to do a little exercise where if you were to start a company, what kind of company would you start? And just some basics. The first thing is to identify your strength and a problem. So an area that you're really good at and an area that, as I said earlier, people would be willing to pay for. And next is fundraising. So you should have a plan. Who are you going to fundraise for? Is it going to be from venture capitalists? Is it going to be from companies, strategic partners, angel funding, your friends and family? How are you going to get funding? That's another thing. And third is to develop a team. Who do you need on your team? And depending on who you need, I mean, how much you fundraise would be different. So, or how much you have in your bank depends on who you can hire. So that all ties together. But you do need a team. And you can start with just yourself in the beginning for sure, but at some point you're going to need a team. And the next is to develop that product or service and develop intellectual property, apply for patents. And depending on where you're based, the laws are different. So Japan has its unique IP law and America has its own IP law. And you should think about that from the beginning when you're developing your products and services. So now I've been talking a lot. I want to hear from some of you, but let's take maybe 5 minutes to brainstorm some ideas, if you have a piece of paper or not. And then maybe we'll just go around and see who wants to talk about their company ideas. So let's take 5 minutes for everybody to think about if you were to start a company, what kind of company would you start? Okay, I'll take 5 minutes. Or yeah, you can of course talk about amongst yourself and.
Yeah. That's a big skill, actually.
Maybe a couple more minutes. If everybody's ready, we can go. But a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready in the back? One of you?
Yeah.
Somebody who wants to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So just so that people can see, if you could come over here and maybe write on the board.
Okay. Yes, fine.
Yeah, on the board behind so people can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello.
So what's your name?
My name is Moses.
Moses.
I'm from South Africa.
Okay.
And I'm doing second-year masters
Oh, cool.
in animal resources science.
Great.
Well, my idea is kind of wild, but I'm actually more into biotechnology. That's also the field of my research. And I think my business idea would be creating a park whereby we bring extinct species back to life so that people can come and view them.
Wow.
Sort of like Jurassic Park, but with cool stuff. Yeah, I think if I have like a large amount of money, I would like to bring some of the cool animals that went extinct and so that people can enjoy them for more and more years. That would be so awesome. Thank you.
So Moses, how would you fundraise for that idea? Where would you get the money from?
I think this one, in the way I view it, some kind of like a global program, you know, because like all this animal, everybody lost their animals, so it's not going to be like a national thing. So maybe I would like convince, like, you know, United Nations, World Bank, and try to make it more public instead of like private, you know, so that it's accessible to anyone. Maybe you can have like different branch in many countries. Mm-hmm. Whereby maybe Japan will have a certain species, US will have certain species, South Africa, you know, so that is like a interdisciplinary kind of business, whereby it's like a world heritage and yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay. So the money can come from, you know, the world governments and whoever is interested and is passionate about this kind of thing. And then I will be the founder of it.
And what kind of team would you need?
The team that I would like to have, okay, first I would like to have like scientists, biologists first, you know, just to discuss everything about the possibility of it. People who are skilled in biotechnology, people are skilled in paleontology and so on. Then once, you know, the science part is dealt with, then I think you can go like things like law, ethics. So it's going to be like, yeah, so many levels of, yeah. So it's quite a very big idea though. But yeah, firstly, I would like to like discuss with scientists so that we can discuss the probability of like getting a DNA that is ancient and making it into a living thing, you know, those kind of things.
Actually, I need a big team.
I would like to be in that lab when that happens, but yeah, it's gonna be a big team.
Right, great. And how much would you charge for a ticket?
For a ticket? Ooh, yeah. Okay, so I will charge, let's say for example, one of the extinct species that is my favorite. It's megadolon. It's normally in the sea.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a large,
So,
like,
yeah, it's a
shark-like-
very large.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll probably have to take you there on a like fancy cruise or something. So you have to pay so much. So they will be level. But if you want to watch like insects or some snakes that went extinct, so they're not gonna be cheap. You can just
Oh.
pay like 1,000 yen, and but depending on what is it that you want to see.
That's really interesting. So depending on what species you want to see, you charge different levels.
Yes.
And that's why people, even that may not have so much money, they can still enjoy your products.
Yes. Because the point is to include everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great subscription model type of kind of service that you have. So good. Good job.
I just thought about it like 5 minutes ago.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And see you in the next 10 years when I have the business.
We're looking forward to that. Who wants to go next? Anybody in the back?
Okay, so I would like to start.
What's your name?
My name is Latif.
Latif.
I'm from Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yeah, I would like to start an agribusiness company, and it's cut across animal production, plant production, and the agribusiness itself, like agricultural economics, like the management of the agriculture. So, and specifically, I'm gonna target like the youths and other categories of farmers, but specifically the youths, so that the agribusiness is gonna be like in two forms: production and training. So there will be a particular class for training, and we have a class for production. So we will be producing different crops, which we are going to be selling in the local market, and also there will be some for exports. And we're gonna have like some set of students, people that want to learn about agriculture. So we are going to train them, and after training them, we are going to give them like a parcel of land, because the main difficulty about agricultural production in Africa is like funding. So when we have like large hectares of land, so then we have like inputs also. So when students are finishing from training, they don't have to go and use their money, like use their money to produce, because most of these students, they don't have. Like when we are saying youth from 18 to 20, so then we provide them like inputs. So we allocate some area of land for them if it's plant production, and if it's animal production, we have different pens that they can use for like poultry production, piggery, fish production. Then after selling, after harvesting, we will also buy from them. So they don't have a problem of like selling to the local market. So when we buy from them, then we can give them, we can deduct the money from input from them, and they can have their income. So then when they are independent and they feel that, oh, they can have their own farm, then they can easily go anytime they want. So, and how I plan to fund this is, I have different friends that have a PhD in different fields: animal production, fishery, crop production. And my friends there also, I have a friend from Cameroon, I have a friend from Ghana. So it's not like it's just gonna be local. So it's gonna be like different West African city. And I've also been privileged to be in South Africa. I did my master's in South Africa. So it's just going to be things cutting across different parts of Africa. And also my plan is also like to have like a collaboration with Japan also in terms of technology, because in Africa, the smallholder farmers, they lack technology in terms of the types of technology that doesn't cost a lot in terms of technology for planting, for harvesting, those small scale technology. So while partnering with Japan also, it's gonna help us have access to technology in terms of animal production, crop production. And for funding, funding might be a bit difficult, but I plan to start saving also. And we are going to have like a stakeholders. Yeah. So my friends also different, I have different friends from different places. So we can just gather funds together. And if we have a particular fund, then we can have our hectares of land, because hectares of land is actually cheap in our country. Then we can write to the government and have like a private-public partnership.
So you would first have, it would be a private company.
Yeah.
And then
after,
a bunch of people would pool the money together, buy land, and the customer would be youth, and they would pay like a tuition fee to get access to the land. They work, they grow, they learn agriculture, and then what's harvested is sold by the company. And it's you get the profit from that, and then you share the profits. So that's actually a very interesting business model, and I think if you have the funds to get started, that would be very useful. So I really hope you try it out, and wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to go? Or you guys have gone yet? No? Let's see if anybody from the online wants to. Is there anybody from who's joining by Zoom today who wants to talk about if they were to start a company, what kind of company would they start? No? Everybody's feeling shy? Okay, I guess not. So we'll have to go with people who are here because I can see you guys. So, okay, let somebody else who didn't present yet. Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. So my name is Nadim Hayat and I'm a master's first year student from IPADS. So back in 2020 when COVID first started, I was an undergraduate student from Tsukuba University. At that time, like online lectures just started. So I had this idea of like making an online platform for providing like therapies or counseling, because I felt like, especially targeting students, because I felt like maybe that at that stage there was a lot of stress and problems among the student group. So I thought that would be a good idea. And even though I didn't try it out, but regarding strengths, like maybe like making a website where students can make accounts, and a lot of good therapists would also be attached to that website. So students can first have some free trial to check it out and see if they have any improvement. Then they can do like monthly subscriptions to like follow up with the doctors and provide a small fee, which would be less than meeting physically. And also when it comes to going to a therapist physically, maybe it would be like students might feel more reluctant to go. That's why I thought maybe online therapy would be much more easier and would help the students more. Yeah.
And how would you get funding for that? I mean, how much money would you need to set that up? It sounds like
yeah,
online
it's
business, not so much.
maybe like at first, like since it's an online business, building up websites, maybe recruiting some engineers for that need some initial funding, and also to convince doctors to be working in this project. That would also require some convincing and stuff. Maybe at first, since it's a startup, maybe some funding from venture capitals, and try to sell them our product and like with a good presentation, see if they're interested. Maybe that would help it start.
So venture capitalists would only invest if they can expect a big exit. So exit means that you would grow your business big enough, and then another big company would buy it. And they put in, let's say they put in $10,000 US, they would at least want $1 million back. So if you can grow your business that much, then they would be interested. So how would you convince them that it is going to be worth it?
Maybe, so like, since that was like the start of COVID and everything was getting online, so that would have been like the starting point. I mean, I'm not sure if there might be other businesses as such, but since everything's getting online, maybe more the flow of students or flow of clients would be more common. And maybe like give an idea of how it can grow, and like it can also be international to not just targeting one specific country, and like draw out some statistics or data of the demographics or like the current conditions and the productivity decline and all that. So maybe a good presentation or pitching might make a difference at first.
And
Yes.
what kind of team would you need?
Since it's an online platform, so first I need like some engineers who can build these infrastructures, and also the cooperation from therapists or professional consultants. So initially that's what I need, and then later some other marketing people who can like boost up, I mean, the idea of this. Yeah.
Okay. And so you said you were thinking about this.
Mhm.
What made you not, like, why haven't you made it?
And then like maybe I got busy with other stuff like graduate school applications and all. Also, even though there is a stigma like when it comes to this mental state and all that, and no matter how you advertise, there will still be a problem of students not trying to, like confess about all these stuff. So that might be the most difficult point. So I thought maybe not right now, maybe later. I'll try it out.
I think you should start now.
Well,
Even if it's small, the lessons you learn are.
What do you think? Like, do you think there is a need for such kind of a platform?
So at least where I am in California, there are a couple of startups like that. I did look into that to sign up. And for me, I wanted a subscription for my sister because she was going through some tough time in her life. And I thought and she tried to find a good therapist, but it was just so hard to find somebody good. So I wanted to give her a subscription as a gift. So there's already platforms like that, which means that it's working. It is a viable business model, but it's all about implementation. So there's tons of ideas, and ideas are cheap, right? It's about how you implement, how you execute that idea that makes all of the difference. Yeah. So I think the idea definitely, somebody has proven that it works. So the idea is good, but how would you execute that? And that makes all of the difference. Okay. And I think if you feel strongly about it, I think you should go for it. I think you should start small, but execute it. As for the website, right now there's so many free or cheap services, right? Wix is a good one. There's like it's you can build your own website pretty easily. And it can be something simple as you have a list of therapists and you have a list of people and you do it very manually, but you still have that service. You don't need something fancy. So I highly encourage you go for it if you feel strongly about it.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Else from the back? You want to go? No? No? Okay. All right, I'm going to see one more time if somebody online wants to present. So somebody online who's listening, is there anybody who wants to present? No, I don't hear anyone. Maybe Yamasaki-san, do you want to go?
I've already got a professional position, but maybe I can maybe answer. My strength, maybe the teaching in academia, for a really long time in the United States and also in Japan, and also the international experience, because actually I've studied actually in the 4 years in Japan, followed by the 13 years almost outside of Japan, and then I come back. So maybe these kind of things. And for technical things, maybe, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, it's really hard to hear you. I was trying to find a mic. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's try. Yeah, can you speak?
Can you hear me? Can you?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, there we go. Okay, yeah, it's good. It's good. You can, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so maybe I'm gonna repeat. So maybe my strength is maybe the teaching in academia in the both United States and Japan, and also of course, actually international experience in the academia most of the time. And the specific things is actually my research area. Maybe I use a lot of the machine, like a mass spectrometer, or so maybe actually many things I can do. I think that is really the strength for me. And so maybe I'm thinking to make what kind of business. Maybe I because actually, you know, I'm spending really long time in academia already. So, but to share this kind of experience with my students, that is usually I do. So maybe these things can be maybe can work as a business. Maybe that's really nice. Do you have any idea?
If you can, yeah, I mean, you can set up a diagnostic company or even a CRO, a contract research organization. All you need is a small lab space. And if you're really good at doing mass spec, a lot of companies like my company, we have samples, we don't have mass spec. So we want to send out the samples and you analyze and you give me the data. And there's so much demand for that. I think that's definitely,
yeah,
it would definitely work.
This is one of them, but actually the problem is a mass spec machine is super expensive. So,
yes, it is.
So it's that actually this is a little bit difficult. Maybe actually the less maybe the input money is better. Maybe actually I maybe should start with maybe like a academic advising company.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
For
consultants. Yeah.
For the Japanese people, because actually many actually Japanese people actually are not going to the outside of the country right now. This is, I think, a little bit social problem actually in this country. So maybe this is one thing. So it means maybe this I can maybe selling this kind of service to maybe the government of Japan.
Yeah, that's
maybe the university. And third thing is developing a team. Maybe that my team member maybe actually maybe I can ask many friends in the state, and some of them really professional for the economics and also for the other area. So maybe the main if I gather actually really a lot of the information and to share the customer, maybe this is one of those. Maybe I'm thinking about that.
great. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. And you know, that's a lot of people coming out of a grad school. They've done that. Like, for example, you can, I don't know about Japan, but in America at least, you can buy used lab equipment for pretty cheap at an auction for a few $1,000s.
Exactly.
And I mean, lab space, you can also rent like an incubator space, or you can even set it up in your house. You can set up a lab space in your house and start your business that way. So you have to be creative, and you have to be willing to put in the hard work because it's going to be tough. But I think certainly there's a lot of good things to learn from that experience. So Yeah, but I mean, you have a great career in academia. So, I don't want to discourage you from that by any means, but yeah, thank you for sharing your idea.
Thank you.
Okay, I am going to go back to that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Actually, I wanted to yeah, talked about this. Yeah, just move on to question and answer. If anybody has any questions, specific questions, or about anything, like how do you create like a pitch deck if you want to pitch to investors, or you know, how do you recruit people to work with you? Anything, any questions that you may have, or even something not related to that. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Can you give an idea of the product that you're selling in your company? Because I don't have much idea.
Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't talk so much about it. So let me kind of talk about what we do. So I work for a company called IPeace Inc. And the company was founded by, I'm not sure if you guys know, but Dr. Shinya Yamanaka. He won the Nobel Prize for iPSC's technology, and founded by the grad student who was the second author on the world's first human iPSC paper. So he's one of the first people who made the first human iPSC. And what we do is we make iPSCs for research and for clinical use. So we have a facility that can make clinical grade cells, and we sell it to pharmaceutical companies and other drug developing companies. And we also sell the research level cells to researchers. Yeah.
Sorry, what is IPS?
Yeah, IPS stands for induced pluripotent stem cells. I'm just gonna write it here. I don't know if you can see, but so induced they're stem cells. And iPSC, you can make iPSC from your skin or your blood. So I can take some of your blood sample and convert that to iPSCs. And from those cells, I can make your brain or heart, skin cells, anything that you may need. So these are stem cells that are obviously very powerful, because for a patient, let's say that they got into a car accident, right? And they broke their spine and they're paralyzed, but we can take their blood, make iPSCs, and from that we can make neurons or neural progenitor cells, and we can inject it into their spine. And the data in monkey, one of the professors already done it, they recover from paralysis. So we can do that in people as well. For example, diabetes, right? If you have diabetes, you need insulin injection. We can make beta islet cells, which are the type of cells that secrete insulin. We can take the patient's blood cells, make it into beta islet cell, iPSCs, and then make iPSCs into beta islet cells. And we can transplant the beta islet cells, put it in kind of like a pouch, and put it in and transplant it into the body. And now you don't need insulin anymore. The cells secrete insulin, and they talk to the signals in your blood so that it secretes the right amount of insulin, not too much, not too little. Just like how your pancreas, which is the organ that secretes insulin, would do. And they already did a clinical trial with that. So there's already one patient that's now had type 1 diabetes, so they're juvenile type diabetes, and they were dependent on insulin for decades. And they had a very high resistance to insulin, but after this transplantation, they haven't needed a single insulin shot. So it's just, right now it's only one patient, and this is a very emerging field. Dr. Yamanaka won the Nobel Prize in 2012. At that, it's still research, a lot of research went on from that point. Now it's the start of going into the clinical phase. So that's why we're one of the first companies to make clinical grade iPSCs, and we're providing it to a lot of pharmaceutical companies. So I think timing and luck is important. So we're really lucky that we were able to grow super fast, because we saw that a lot of people wanted the cells that we were making, because they were developing cell therapies like for Parkinson's disease, or as I said, for spinal cord injury or burns or diabetes, lots of different applications. But everybody was looking, well, how can I get good quality iPSCs? I know how to make these specific cell types, but I don't know how to make iPSCs. So that's the problem that we solve. We have very high level of high quality iPSCs, clinical grade, and also research grade. So they can do research first and then they go to clinical, because clinical is expensive. And from that point, our business grew quite a lot. So yeah, that's what I do. I develop the clinical product. So as I oversee the whole clinical product section, which means talking to customers and getting customers to buy our cells, but also overseeing production so that we make that high quality that people are expecting. And we also talk to the regulatory agencies to make sure that we're following all of the laws, we're compliant with all of the laws, and it can be used clinically. Yeah, that's what I do.
So you kind of have like different branches in different countries?
Yes. So we have our headquarters in Palo Alto, Bay Area, California, and we have a facility, a manufacturing facility in Kyoto. So that's one of the reasons I'm in Japan, because I wanted to get to know our manufacturing team, and because we hired a lot of new people. We're growing. We actually grew 3 times this year. So we expanded our facility to 3 times as much. And I wanted to get to know the new people. And we have 2, yeah. So one in Japan and our headquarters in California. Any other questions or? Yes.
With that, did you decide to open the branch in Tokyo because you have all this? I heard you're Japanese and it's really good. So I'm wondering, is it because of this that you decide to try to partner here in Japan, or it may be more the investor, or how did you?
Yes, that's a really good question, and that ties to how do you find the right team? We decided to build a facility in Kyoto because this technology, the iPSC technology, was discovered at Kyoto University. So there's a lot of people who know how to make really good iPSCs, high density versus the rest of the world. The rest of the world is still catching up, and they still have lots of like protocol is not right, and like they make like, I don't know why my cells are, has an abnormal karyotype. I don't know why it's not working. But when the people who are coming from Kyoto University and surrounding area, they're really good at that. So we decided to build the manufacturing facility in Kyoto because we can have access to top talent. The problem is, well, then why doesn't everybody in Kyoto make a business, right? They don't know how to talk to global pharmaceutical companies. They really don't know how to do business. Like they don't know how to negotiate. They don't know what the global pharmaceutical companies are looking for and how to really sell. So that's where our US team comes in. And I mean, I'm kind of in the middle, like both Japan and US. And that's why we were able to make it as big as possible, because we were able to do both things that other people couldn't do. Anything else?
Some of the clients include universities, research institutions, and so on.
Yeah, so we work with academic institutions because of confidentiality agreement. I can't say the names, but like large national research institutions globally, as well as large pharmaceutical, one of the top pharma companies in the world, and small startups as well. So like one of the startup companies, they did an IPO recently. It's several $1 billion worth company, and smaller startups as well who have a maybe valuation of about $50 to $100 million. So we work with small companies as well as large companies. And how you approach customers, I think that's why, once again, people come into play. Like, who do you know? If somebody sometimes cold calling works, you can just knock on the door and like try to go in, and it works sometimes, and you should absolutely do that. But if somebody from the company, like, oh, I know that girl, or, you know, I worked with them previously, I think we should try them out. That makes a big difference. And in finding, not even in industry, but I think academia as well, finding a good academic position, if somebody can recommend you, then that makes a huge difference whether you will get that position or not. So relationships are the key to success in life. And I think it's not an understatement to say that. All right. Does anybody from the Zoom who are joining from Zoom would like to ask any questions? Yes.
Okay. I have actually several questions, but first actually about the generalist and the specialist. Actually, because actually in the team, there is actually required both generalist and specialist. And I think the education in the United States actually grows both. But
Yes.
sometimes actually the Japanese, someone said the Japanese educational system can grow only the specialist, not generalist. So, but if there's some active feature actually in the IPADS program, I think, can you introduce?
Absolutely. So, sorry. I think that's a really good question because, as I said, so I never said no to anything. That means I learned how to do a lot of different things. Something like talking to kids, playing with kids. How am I going to use that, right? But still, that helped in ways that I didn't expect at the time. So general skills is very important. So I think you've seen it too, but I like to imagine like a T shape where you have a broad base of your skill set, and you don't need to be super good at it, but you need to have a broad skill set. But there needs to be something, one or two things that you're really good at. And that's true, like within my company too. If somebody needs to talk about, for example, viruses, because that's my PhD thesis, what's it's based on, they would ask me. And like, okay, about that topic, that's the person to talk to. So having that one thing, it's important. If you're a generalist, I've hired a generalist before who just, you know, didn't know so much about anything in specific, but just kind of sort of knew about everything. And we couldn't use that person in the company really well because there was nothing strong foundation that was supporting that. So having both is really important. And to your question about whether US or Japanese education, the US education definitely emphasizes what we call a liberal education, where you learn humanities and social science and math and, you know, a lot of different things. And then you're supposed to specialize in your major, one thing. I'm not quite sure about Japan, but in my experience, a lot of the Japanese people I worked with, they're really good specialists, but that's all they can do. They can't even talk to people within the company really well. Like they can't communicate what they're doing to other people, but they're really good at what they're doing. So we, of course, we have them in the company, but they can't grow beyond that. There's only so much that we can pay for a specialist. But if you have a general skills, then you can get to that manager level because you understand what each of the specialists is talking about, even though you may not be as good as them. But you can manage a team of 5 specialists, and then you can increase the output. You're a multiplier. So you multiply that effort by 10 times, and then the output of the team is 50x versus specialists. Maybe they're really good, that's 5x, right? It makes a huge difference. So how to improve general skill set? I think it's to make students do a lot of different things, like internship programs where they have to find a local company and learn how to talk to customers, or an education program where they go to local schools and they explain their research, what they do, or even a volunteer program, or working with the local government to set up like a park cleaning volunteer service. I'm just throwing out ideas here, but I think that kind of programs and experiences are really important to have in grad school. Otherwise, you're going to be really good at what you're doing, but that's all you can do. And then you can't do anything else. you. Anybody else, or you said you had another question?
Okay. Another question is a little bit about maybe of the topic, maybe, but maybe the topic. You mentioned about maybe actually you can find actually I think new team member or something in total. Because Yamanaka sensei is actually working actually in the Kyoto University, and in the United States, I think the University of Wisconsin is one of the IPS, maybe the big team is in there when I was a student. And but actually you are actually making the business in California. Is there any like a special reason why actually your company actually is in California? Can you introduce us?
Absolutely. So that has to do with the business. So, unfortunately, people judge by just the name. So saying that you're a Palo Alto based company, it sounds completely different than you say you're I'm not sure, like a Seoul based company, for example. Like, investors think differently, even though it's the same exact people, the same exact team. Investors don't have a lot of time. They're screening like hundreds of different decks a day, so they judge, they have prejudice. So that was one of the reasons, and another was the access to the business clients and access to customers. So we knew that although the iPSC technology was discovered in Japan, US companies were developing it and they were getting way ahead, and now US is way ahead of Japan in terms of clinical applications for iPSCs, companies coming out of that field. So we knew that. That's why we knew that we needed to have a presence in America, and California. Our founder, he did his postdoc at Stanford in Palo Alto, California. So he was, just having access to the professors there, where we do joint collaboration with, and it's good to have that kind of access. The downside to that is it's very expensive. Palo Alto is extremely expensive to live in. So we built our lab. And of course, as a startup, we don't have, in the beginning, so much money. Before we had customers, we don't have any money, right? No money flowing in other than the small investment. So we set up a lab in a garage. It's it's kind of cliche, but it's literally a garage. And we cleaned up and put all of the bought all of the used lab equipment. So 10-year-old incubators and clean benches and all of that. And because it's in a garage, we have contamination. So we got mold and all the time, but so that's why we have to clean everything every week. But still, it's a lab, it works, and we can do really cool science there. So that kind of story, investors love that kind of, you're scrappy and you're lean, but you're making a strong product. So I think it wasn't really intentional, sort of it was, but I mean, that helped create a good story for fundraising.
Thank you.
And another thing is, so technical staff, Japan has lots of good technical staff. So people, as I said, specialists, really good specialists, and you can hire them for relatively cheaply, which is why we decided to do that in manufacturing facility in Japan, because we could get more return on investment than we would in America. But business, if we had just a Japan subsidiary, I mean, we would not be able to grow as much as we have, because the impression on people is completely different if you say you're a Palo Alto based company versus you're a Japan based company. I mean, there are some strong startups coming out of Japan, no doubt, but because it's just a relatively small number, you have to overcome that wall. And there are so many walls you have to overcome. One less wall is better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions from the audience, or Yamazaki-san, if you have any? I'm not sure exactly, is it how many, if it's a 1 hour long or?
Actually, today's schedule actually from 2 to 4, but
Oh,
actually,
okay.
if there's no question, or maybe actually we can close if we want, but actually this is totally up to the over there and also the maybe online too. Any question?
Yeah, anybody has any questions or? I don't think that there's any questions from the audience here.
Okay, I have one more question.
Sure.
Can you introduce what's actually most maybe the impact actually when you land in Iidate in Fukushima?
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because as I said, that's one of my kind of foundational experience of my graduate school experience. It was one of the first thing that I felt like really changed my career trajectory. And the impact, it was profound in so many ways. So number one, I was just overcome by how much people cared about Japan. And not all of them, I mean, they're not from Fukushima, but they cared about their country and their fellow brethren. And it was most of the people who were doing the work there, they were retired. And what they said was that, I'm old, I've worked enough, and I don't really care if I get nuclear radiation exposure. I'm dying anyways, close to it anyways. But I want to do whatever I can to make it a better place for the next generation. And that, I think it's such a beautiful sentiment. And that showed me how important it is to have something you're working for. Like right now, for example, for IPSCs, of course, I mean, who doesn't like making money, right? It's really fun when the business is growing. But what makes us keep going is because we know that the cells that we make, it will really save patients' lives. And having that sense of mission, that seeing how that can be so powerful, was a really kind of a foundational experience for me. Another thing was, especially Mizoguchi Sensei's guidance was, that was one of the first times I learned how to analyze research and present it in a way that a consultant would do. And I use that as I set up my own consultancy later on, because that's exactly what I did, where I gathered information and I did some work, and then I analyzed, made reports. So that the Tokuron experience, it taught me how to organize and show information. So that was a really good experience, because if I didn't have that, then I would be what I would be doing is doing experiments and analyzing it and writing in a scientific journal. Most people can't read scientific journals. It doesn't make sense. So you have to learn how to present that information in a way that most people can understand. And consultants are really good at that. So learning that from that experience was really good. Oh, and Hiroe has her hand up.
Hello, so my name is Hiroe. I used to be at IPADS, but now I am at Graduate School of Frontier Sciences. So my question is that I kind of agree with you that the experts in Japan are not very good in communicating with other people, on their academic findings and, to utilize really, the academic findings. But why do you think is that, especially in Japan? I kind of agree with you, and I always wonder why it is. Is it because of the education, how the education is set up, or, I don't know. Yeah, from your perspective, what do you think is the cause?
Right. So I think it's because there's not many opportunities for students to present what they're thinking. In America, at least my school experience, all the way from elementary school, at kindergarten even. Like my daughter, she's in kindergarten right now. She was in preschool. In preschool, she had to give presentations every week. She brings in something like she made a drawing that she made, and she has to explain what she drew, why she drew that, and what she wanted to convey with that. And when I talk to people in Japan, like they're like, we don't do that. And I think it's just not enough experience talking about your thoughts and what you're doing, and communicating. There's that kind of romanticization of alone kind of academic in the white tower and working on it and not really communicating. But science doesn't work like that anymore. Science is all about communication. But although I think other Japanese scientists are really smart and they have the skills, but language is probably another barrier. So maybe if it's in Japanese, they may be able to communicate, but when it's English, it's hard for them to communicate. So that means their communication is limited to a smaller community, and they can't share it with the rest of the world. So I think it's two things. Like, one is communicating your ideas to people who don't share your technical background, and one is to share it with the rest of the world, not just Japan. And to do that, students will need a lot more experience to stand in front of other people and explain their thoughts, and explain what they're passionate about, explain their ideas for the future, and also improve English skills. So presenting in English would be, I think, more opportunities for that are necessary.
Okay, thank you very much.
But I would like to hear your thoughts too. So why do you think that is?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's part of the education issue. I don't think there's much, well, I think the education system is changing a lot from what I've experienced as a child, but it's kind of like one-way communication, like teachers teach, and then, student, just receive the knowledge type of thing. And there's not much opportunities for, students to communicate, express themselves. But the other thing that I noticed from working in an international organization is that there's also a gender gap.
Oh, yes.
I don't know why. That's something that I don't exactly know why. But there are, like, when you go to an international organization like UN, there's a lot of Japanese females who are quite good and can adapt to the situation. But sorry, guys, I'm not really saying that you're not capable, but that's the reality of the game, okay? So I see, a lot of male employees struggling to communicate and adapt to international environment. And that's where I don't exactly know where that difference comes. Is it because of the Japanese culture, or I really don't know, but I think that's where the issues are.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think in Japan especially, I did notice that women tend to have better English skills and communication skills, and maybe communication is not encouraged in like social education. So you don't have to be good at talking if you're a guy, but if you're a girl, if you don't talk, you can't make friends. So maybe that's definitely some social cultural differences, and language too. I feel like maybe men are discouraged from pursuing language studies. So just a personal experience, but I have a friend who goes to University of Tokyo, and his parents are strongly discouraging him from going into like a literary language background. Yeah. They want him to, he started off with the science background, and they're strongly like, you're a guy, you need to feed your family. Can you find a job with an English major? So maybe I think that there's that difference, cultural expectation and education difference as well.
I don't know. Yeah. What do you think, Mizoguchi sensei or Yamazaki sensei?
Yeah.
I must say something.
No, we were talking about gender differences in terms of skills in Japan. So I wanted to give, guys the opportunity to speak, okay?
Yeah, today my ear is not good condition, so I didn't catch the conversation right now. But education is very important. So recently, I'm feeling the students students are becoming students are changing from 10 years ago. I'm a little bit anxious about this situation because recently current students are very nervous to be evaluated from other people. So I'm a little bit anxious about maybe a new idea or new challenge cannot be produced by a young generation. I'm a little bit anxious about this situation. So unfortunately, I must retire 2 years later for 2 years. So I want to teach a young generation how the research is very interesting, and the research is a fun of our my life. But recently, when I look at students or research, the students, I feel they are not enjoying the research. Maybe many students feel this research is a homework or labor work. So I don't like such kind of labor work. I'm always searching interesting topics and funny topics. So I believe the real research start from the curiosity or something interesting or something fun. So I'd like to teach the young students forget the homework or labor work. Just enjoy what you are interested in. This is my advice to the young generation. Chiara Sensei, it's okay. So anyway, I'm very happy to have a special seminar by Sony. She sent me an email in February this year, and she said she wants to teach, or she wants to say to the IPADS students, according to her experience. She is the first IPADS student that visited Iidate village in 2012. Yes, 12, or maybe November or October, 10 years ago. So she wrote a very good report. I have already sent the URL about the report that she wrote, and harsh colleagues at that time. So when I was read that report, I was very, very surprised. Students can write a good report if they have a good chance to visit the real field. So today I'm very happy to Sony have this kind of special seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mizuko Sensei. Yeah, so that was, as I said, one of the first kind of experience in IPADS that really opened right into my horizons, and it was a great learning experience too. So although the report, I mean, it was a team effort. We had some fantastic people on the team that we all came together and worked on it. So it really set the stage for what I wanted to get out of my grad school life. And it was not just a degree. I mean, degree, it's just a piece of paper. So that's definitely one of the experience that has shaped me as a person, and that sense of mission and kind of altruism that the people of working at Itate Village, including Mizuko Sensei, has to make the world a better place. It has really stayed with me. So I wanted to share with the IPADS students, because when I was a student, it's so easy to feel like, okay, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? But if you enjoy, as Mizuko Sensei is saying, you will learn something out of it, and that may change your life path. So I agree completely that enjoying is the most important thing. So you should find interesting problems. For example, like, I mean, we're a company, so of course we have to think about what's profitable, but when we talk about some of the silliest kind of research themes, like there's one gene that controls whether snakes have legs or not. There's only one gene difference between a newt and a salamander and a snake. So we're thinking, okay, what if we do knock in that gene? Will snakes have legs? So, we want to do research like that because it's interesting, it's funny. That's just one example, but like we talk about silly projects like that all the time. Now we have so many tools to do that. Like science has advanced so much, next generation sequencing, CRISPR-Cas9, and so many other tools are available. I think creativity and curiosity, there really is no reason why you can't pursue even the silliest of ideas. So I want to encourage everybody, IPADS students, to pursue what may think it's a crazy idea. Okay. Yes, Yamasaki-san.
Okay.
Sorry, a question. Okay. Yeah, first Yamasaki-san.
So because actually today actually Yamamoto Sensei cannot attend due to actually going to the conference. So actually I received a message from him. So can I say that?
Yes.
So today is the Sony-san, because actually he's heading to the airport, Narita airport, for attending the conference. And also for all attenders today, actually, thank you so much for the time. And today's actually the Sony-san actually the talk is really excellent, and it's really beneficial actually for the IPADS students, especially actually to build actually or to make actually their own future career. This is really one of the really great examples. And also he mentioned about after the Okada Sensei retirement, Fujimoto-san actually got a position in there, and it changed a lot. And now actually my name is Yuji Yamasaki. I just came here actually since actually this actually the June actually, just for the position for the Ishihara Sensei just left. So, and I just joined to the IPADS program. So, and so Ishihara Sensei and also the Okada Sensei actually made really the basic things of the iPad. So that's the reason actually the many graduate people actually making their own success. So thank you for that. And also that is thank you for the Midoguchi Sensei to bring this kind of the opportunity for us. This is really the great thing, and to share this things with iPad students. And for the attendance and new actually the iPad actually the let me check. Okay. So if you have any friend, actually you can introduce the iPad, and because actually the new 2023 intake will be open soon. So if you have any friend, actually maybe you can introduce us for iPad too. So, and also today's actually the seminar is recorded already. So actually we will share in the later. So thank you for coming. And anyone actually you wanna leave the comment, or for example actually for next maybe the seminar topics or something. If you have idea, you can share before closing. Thank you.
There's one more question from the audience that I want to take before we close formally.
Sure. I was wondering, after your PhD, you started working on this startup, but meanwhile, did you take any position somewhere, and did you have to manage that time between like a full-time job and?
I did. So as I said, I had my consulting company and I did real estate. So buy houses and I have tenants and stuff. So and my family has a completely different jewelry business. So like I was doing a lot of things at the same time, and definitely. So but I did, if you were talking about an academic position, no, I didn't take an academic position because I was considering doing a full-time postdoc. When you're doing a postdoc, I think it's really challenging to work outside of that because you should dedicate all of your time to writing a great journal, publish your research. Otherwise, you can't get your next position. So I was like, do I want to do that, or do I want to continue what I have right now and work in industry? It was really tough because before I went into industry, I wasn't sure if it was the right fit for me. But then I realized that you can always go back. Like you can, if I wanted to go to academia, I mean, it's tough, of course, compared to if you're just graduating from and then going to postdoc, but it's not impossible. At least in America, I know a couple of people who have gone back they're in academia again. So I think it's definitely possible. I made the switch more to business side, so it's a little bit more challenging, but people who have spent like doing research and development in pharmaceutical companies, why not? You can go back to academia anytime. So I think you don't have to think so much. just do what feels right to you, and that goes both ways, though. You can always go out of academia into industry too. So there are very few mistakes that you can never recover from, and that's why I encourage everybody, as young people especially, to make as many mistakes as possible and learn from that. And that's why I was encouraging that if you have an idea to start a company, you should do it now, and learn as much as you can. Did that answer your question? Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Anything? Okay. If there's nothing else, I think we can go ahead and close the seminar today. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. And if you want to connect with me, feel free to find me on LinkedIn. I know people don't really use LinkedIn in Japan, but my LinkedIn is easy, just / Priyanka Soni. Or you can email me. Mizuko Sensei has my email address. Or if you come talk to me, you can also, I'll give you my contact info too. Okay, all right, thank you, everybody.
Soni,
Yes.
would you introduce the second topic speaker? Because this seminar is IPAD Alumni Talk #1. You were the first.
Okay.
So you should appoint, you should search a second speaker.
Okay.
If you
Okay. So she's not listening right now, but I can. My former colleague Gasan, she's also an IPAD student. She has a really interesting background too. She's a veterinarian, and she completed her study in Vietnam, and then she came to Japan to do her PhD. And I think her work was all about learning from whatever she can in Japan and bringing it back to her country for the benefit of her country. I think that's really interesting too. So I appoint Gasan, but she's not here, so she can't say yes or no.
Yamazaki Sensei, it's okay this style. It's look like Tomodachi no wa. So the speaker must search a next speaker, yes, and teach to Yamazaki Sensei. It's okay.
Yes. Great, thank you. And thank you so much, Yamazaki Sensei, Mizuko Sensei, and everybody for giving me the opportunity to speak with everyone. It was really great to come back and share what I've been doing since I graduated. So I really thank you for your continued guidance, and really wanted to share that what you taught 10 years ago, it's still staying, and it's I remember it from time to time as a really good memory from my grad school years. So thank you so much for that time and for this time as well. All right, thank you. Thank you everybody for joining through Zoom as well. Thank you, bye-bye.